I can call the meeting to order. This is the agenda budget meeting. I get 2019 proposed budget review. Katie, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont. You guys, you have an agenda, but we're not really gonna follow it. I'm sorry. When I was organizing the meeting materials, I thought it would go quicker if we kind of started with 18 and worked our way to 19. So the first thing in your binders it's the finance report for September 2018. This is where the police jury is, all the funds that we directly manage. This is where we are as of September as a cash balance. So I won't go through every fund if you don't want me to. The main fund, which is the general fund, total revenue through September, which is 3 full quarters, we are just shy of 25% left of our revenues to collect, so we're in good shape. December we'll have more ad valorem tax funds come in, so we're going to be pretty good with our revenue. The total expenditures, we are just shy of 50%, so that makes us in very good shape. That means we finished 3 quarters of the year with less than half of our budget. The adopted budget for 2018 that you adopted was a $2.2 million deficit. That's just but that included $2 million worth of capital project money, which we haven't barely touched so far, with the exception of the boat launch in Grand Lake, which that trickles in a little bit at a time. I guess the main thing that you guys need to look at is that 2018 actual column, that negative 222,000. What that tells you is, as of right now, we just now tapped into our surplus funds. So we made 3 quarters of the year before we ever had to start using our funds that were banked in our surplus, or if you want to say your savings account. So everything we spend from this point forward will come out of our surplus fund. Below that's our transfers, Road and Bridge and Criminal Court. They both operated a deficit. We've had to transfer $1.3 million between the 2 funds so far this year. That will increase every month until December when we close it. So you can expect those numbers to increase in the last part of the quarter of 2018. Road and Bridge, Courthouse Jail, the health unit, and parish-wide garbage. We can go through them if you guys want. If you want me to just point out any major issues that I see so far, I can do that. It's up to you. If you want to see the detail, it's behind it per fund.
So unlike the parish-wide garbage, the 3.7 million is actually the surplus balance?
That's our cash balance, yes, as of right now. That is our surplus balance, yes, sir. Every fund, based off the ad valorem taxes that you levy, operated a surplus with the exception of Road and Bridge and the general fund. General fund, we're getting close to balancing just the operating expenditures, not counting what we have to transfer to Criminal Court and Road and Bridge. But I'm going to discuss a few options later in the meeting to hopefully close that Road and Bridge gap, that deficit, and then we'll just have to work on the Criminal Court fund.
Thank you, okay.
I was just kind of flipping through. If y'all want to move forward with the amendments, we can. If y'all are good with where we are in 2018. This tab 2 is just a little house cleaning budget amendments. Anytime that we see we're going to collect less than 5% of our projected revenue, or we're going to spend more than 5% of our projected expenditures, we have to do budget amendments. So this is the first time we've really had to do one this year. The net change is the column that you want to focus on. It's at page 15, if you're looking for page numbers. So total revenue general fund, we're gonna decrease it by $78,500. That's what we're gonna do right now. Everything else seems to be on goal for revenues collected. Expenditures, we're gonna decrease them a little bit. It's mainly to some of our, capital project funds, grants funds. Road and Bridge on down through all of our different funds that we directly manage, they're all in here. On the first page, if you turn the page, the library, which is line 37 through 82, those are all the funds that we manage. We're not directly managing those funds. We rely on the board to manage those, approve the budgets. We only step in when absolutely necessary or if they're operating at a deficit and have no more funds. So that's where we are right now with our budget amendments. It's nothing major. We're not adding a lot of money to any particular fund.
So Katie, you're actually saying we're on track with all the percentages
Yes, sir.
and the budget is running right on track as we said before.
Yes, we're actually coming in a little under budget so far with our expenditures. A lot typically happens between October and December. But for right now, if you see any percentage that in your expenditures, if you see total budget remaining, as long as it's over 25%, we're in very good shape. The ones that are under 25%, those are the ones that we monitor.
But the road roll money,
It's still pretty low. It varies month to month. Right now, we're collected around 700,000. We're hoping to get to the million mark, with the gas prices going up and increasing every month. We're seeing a little bit increase in that road royalty. Last year, we collected just under $1 million. It was around 900,000. So it's too early to adjust that out right now. I feel in December, if we'll have a better idea if we're gonna collect the $1 million or if we need to reduce it. As opposed to some of the jurors probably remember getting $4 million a year road royalty. So we're hoping for $1 million, but it is increasing. We bottomed out at about 500,000 a few years ago, and it's just slowly increasing. So if we can get $1 million this year, we'll be fortunate. The budget amendments are on the voting agenda. If there's any, I guess probably the biggest question that we are at today concerning budget amendments are at what point do we cut off the budget amendments with certain items? Typical operating expenditures, you have to amend those. You try your best to budget for utility bills and water bills, but it's gonna inflate. Yes, sir, you get a question? I guess the biggest question is when it comes to office supplies, for example, a lot of departments, as long as they're not going over that 5% expenditure, projected budget, expenditure line item, we usually go ahead and just amend the budget. Do y'all want to continue doing that? At what point do you want us to sit back and say, you know what, y'all need to wait till the next year? I think you've exceeded your office supply budget. Or as long as it's within the total allocated amount, do we go ahead and just continue to amend the budget? That's probably the biggest thing we need guidance on.
how many of these you got that need to be amended?
Budget amendments?
Yeah.
If you turn behind, go to page 18, that shows all the line items. That's what we're amending per line item, but I wouldn't get too focused on that, because like I said, it's house cleaning. It's pretty much increasing it for one line item, but you're decreasing on the other to make a net change. The net change is the biggest thing that we need to focus on. So for example, the criminal court fund, total expenditures for the judge's office, we're gonna decrease at 8,700 because they're coming well under the projected expenditure budget. District Attorney's Office, we're gonna go ahead and decrease that 3,000. Try to keep our budget as close to actual expenditures as we possibly can.
So the changes you making is your net changes on the end,
Yes,
on the pages?
yes. Page 15 through 17 is the total amount that it's gonna change per fund. The other pages directly behind it, those are ones that have to actually go in and enter line item for line item, but the net change is what we're actually changing as a whole for each one of these departments. Parish-wide garbage, for example, line 18, we're gonna increase the revenue 10,000 because we're getting a lot more ad valorem tax in that fund than we originally anticipated. Total expenditures were under budget, so we're gonna decrease it by 51,100.
So were you asking to start looking at it on a line item basis from here on out, or on a department?
Yeah, do you guys wanna, exactly, what, I'm sorry, I didn't articulate that very well. Daryl's question's spot on. Do you guys want us to just go ahead and look at it as a department base, and as long as whatever they're requesting is underneath that amount, approve the requisitions and the purchase orders that coincide with our purchase order policy? Or at what point do you want us to say, okay, look, we need to go to the jury and ask permission for this particular line item? You only budgeted 10,000, but you spent 30,000 in office supplies, and we find that's excessive. If you want us to approve it, we're gonna have to ask the jury.
Regardless of what the
Regardless of-
department was budgeted.
Right, regardless of what their
Okay.
department is budgeted.
Well, when you budget something, I know at the end of the year, you typically have to adjust your budget.
Mhm.
But is it outside of the budget where you have to adjust, or is it within the budget you have to adjust?
Within the budget, those amendments happen all the time. Outside the budget, which is what I'm requesting right now, this net change, that's something that we do already, and we ask for you guys to approve it. Once you're looking at it, we've already expended the funds. What I'm asking is,
You
do
want a
we cut it off
limitation.
before that point?
So you're wanting to know if we want to put a limitation on the amount of money
Before they ever,
for those
spend
budget
it.
amendments can be made?
yes.
You understand? What is the limitations then?
Well, limitation right now is, as we approve any requisitions for supply purchases, as long as it's within 5% of the allocation of the overall department, we approve it. Because the jury allocated the money to that department to spend as they seem fit. So right now, we don't come to you at all unless they are excessive of their total allocation. Do you guys want us to go a step further to cut costs and start putting a limit on the line items, or do you still want us to keep carrying on the way we are right now, which is as long as,
Haven't you cut, y'all cut costs here in the last 2 or 3
Yes.
years, and steady cutting costs all the way down?
yes,
Okay, I got one question that I want to answer on this, and I'm probably ahead of the game because you haven't got to the back yet.
yes.
Okay. We just signed the agreement with it.
Mhm.
There's 300,000 coming to the jury.
Yes, sir.
Next year it's gonna be even more. We've only got it for 4 years, and I understand that very clearly, and I think the whole jury does.
Okay,
Have you figured the money into this budget
yes,
that has just come in
yes, sir. It's
for
there.
this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did I jump ahead of you?
No, sir. It's, well, a little bit maybe, but it's in the budget, what you're looking at.
So you added that into the budget
Yes,
with the road royalties, and that's how
Yes.
you're determining your budget right now
yes, sir. And the,
for this year.
yes, sir.
Because next year's gonna be even more,
Mhm.
and that's gonna make a budget completely different again. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes, it is. Yes, okay. I just didn't want to jump ahead of you, but I was concerned if somewhere along the line you were gonna say that you added that in there, somewhere else.
What is your recommendation on the percentage that the jury should come into play on the budget increases or budget
I mean, I think everything's working great the way it is now.
So why-
This would just be another step, this would just be kind of that phase 3 that we talked about on how to slowly cut down our expenditures and cut down our budget. This would kind of just be that last step of, okay, now that we've cut down the overall department budgets, now let's figure out how to cut down the line items, which will eventually you'll see in the overall department as well. It's not something that has to be decided today, it is not something that has to be decided at all. If y'all feel that we've cut enough, and as long as they're staying underneath their departmental allocation amount, then let's go on with business and don't come up here every meeting asking for an increase in this line budget. If y'all are happy with that, it's working well. Everyone's been trying really hard to cut back on their expenditures and not ordering excessively. I feel like they're doing their job on that. Y'all have asked them to do that and pay better attention to what they're spending, and they have. So,
I agree with that, my opinion anyway, that, it's best that, you know, we're informed on everything, but we don't want to handicap,
right.
a department.
And just from
If it's something that's,
Lee, you were here, I mean, when you're road bridge, when you're looking at a budget at the beginning of the year, you budget so much for, let's say, repairs and so much for, general maintenance items. And then they just don't materialize there.
right,
So you got, within that department, you might spend more in
Transfer.
supplies or whatever. So you
Transfer.
spent 10,000 in supplies where you had 5,000 budget, but you had 5,000 budget for maintenance and you didn't spend any. Because it just didn't, something didn't happen that year. It's just tough
It's a
to,
wash.
so I think that's, but if you watch the line items, say, look, we're spending this much on supplies for everybody and we're not exceeding it. Then you're looking at it as a line item and you reach that mark, regardless if your department had this much money budget or not. That's another cost saving factor that would come in.
It would materialize in overall.
But from a department standpoint, you allocated this much money for a farm, they save some money here, so they want to spend a little bit more money there. I think that's the crux of it. And sometimes it's just, it's hard to project that at the beginning of the year when you're doing the
it's
budget.
when you start busting your budget, that your total budget, that you gotta get, that we should be informed.
And that's from the Budget Act, that's what they look at. When auditor comes in here, he's looking at that overall fund total. Did you owe over 5% of that?
Yeah.
And that's what they're looking at. But she's trying to make it more efficient and effective from an operation standpoint.
Yeah. I'm good with all that.
Okay.
Katie, I think it's holding together. You did do a 3-year plan, presented it to the jury. And in the 3-year plan, you said if the budget got to this point, if the budget got to this point. I just kind of leaned over to Joe, I said, well, it looks like now, for the next 4 years, I'm just talking 4 years. I'm not talking further down the line, things are gonna happen, things are gonna start coming online, we're gonna get a little bit more money, and we're gonna get a little bit more money, we didn't win the Powerball yet. But the budget is gonna kind of start rising again. Right now, all the heads here and all the people here have cut back to where they can operate. If they can stay where they are, and just for the next 4 years, really things are gonna really start happening. So the budget is not falling backwards no more. We're not going down the other way like we thought we were gonna go.
Right.
We appreciate what was signed and what's coming forward now, because now it's gonna step for the next 4, well, this year is kind of a slow step, but for the next 3 is a good step. So we still want, in my book, my opinion, and it's only me, we got the rest of these guys to speak for themselves. If the department heads can continue doing what they're doing, continue working with it, I don't see what we need to stop nobody from doing nothing that they need to do. Now, don't get over here and go spend 85% of it because you got a surplus in your little department. We're not asking you to do that, we're just saying, let's stay where we at, that's my opinion. And I think they all understand that, they hear it. Now, I know Miss Emily back there, she's cutting flips when I'm saying this, because I know she's getting ready to come up here and sit down here and talk to us some more. But right now, the way I see it coming and from what standpoint that I'm calculating, I think we're gonna be fine.
Yes, sir. And we are. It's materialized. All the steps that we put in motion 3 years ago, and we have between $3 and $5 million more today than our original projections were. So everyone has definitely done their job. So I mean, I agree. My recommendation is I don't think we're there yet. I think we can hold off on phase 3. Everyone's doing a really good job trying to keep their expenditures down.
I think every entity has done a good job with us. They understood where we were going.
Yep.
And I don't think they had a problem with it. I think they worked with everybody they could work with. And they're right there. I mean, according to your percentages and the little bit of stuff you gotta tweak here and there, yeah. I think it's fine, my personal self.
All
I
right.
don't know about these other guys, but anyhow.
Well, we'll go ahead and move forward to 2019's budget then. Yes, sir.
Revenue, do we have any outstanding revenue before the end of the year? Everybody received everything we think coming.
No, the major revenue sources, we've received everything. We're gonna get a small Avalon tax payment in December, probably like 10 to 20% of what we would collect overall. But you're not gonna see any major things hit after today, after September. Yeah, the CWIP, the settlement, that'll be the only one, the 388,000. Everything else is gonna be very insignificant. We're,
That'll show up
road royalty,
at our next.
Yes.
Our next one, that's okay.
yes, the CWIP hopefully will have, probably any timeline on that?
Yeah, they have everything. I
Our
think
next meeting's in
they're trying to turn
November.
around and quit, I'd say within a month.
Yes.
That's gonna make a significant change in our next. meeting.
What is gonna, I mean, and not to, still,
And our
but
cash
it's gonna help,
balance,
it's gonna
yes.
help some other funds, especially in that Johnson Pike area.
Yes.
That's where it's gonna help them get over a little bump.
That's why I was asking, he had asked if we received, I was asking if there was anything else gonna show up in the budget, so it will.
Yes, the 388,000 should be in before a November budget meeting, and we'll have it in there. It is in this 2019 budget summary that we're gonna go through. I have it budgeted for next year, the cash payment, along with the increased Avalon taxes that we should collect because of that settlement. So it is reflected in the budget. Everything that you're gonna look at in the budget, most of the fire districts did submit their final budget to me that they recommended we adopt. The only one that's gonna probably change significantly is Fire District 10. The secretary called me this morning, she says she reran their numbers, and she thinks that they're gonna decrease their total expenditures by $40,000 to $50,000, so that one's gonna change between now and November, but everyone else that I've spoken to, that liked it the way it was, no significant changes. So for 2019, which is page 70, it's behind your second tab of your book. We'll just kind of go through the summary page first. The general fund total projected for the January 2019, we're projecting we're gonna have $13 million in the general fund. The revenues are projected at 3.5 million, expenditures 5.7 million. And then other funding uses, which are the supplemental funds transferred to Road and Bridge and the criminal court fund is 1.5 million. That leaves us with our projected deficit of 3.8 million. So projected fund balance at the end of December 2019 would be 9.2 million. The thing that you should probably be the most proud of is this budget right now, just operating budget, not counting the transfers to other funds. We're only about a $200,000 deficit between revenues and operating expenditures. So we're very close to balancing our budget, if you don't count having to supplement other funds. So that's something to be very proud of, because it's been a long time since we've been that close.
But you do have to count that up.
You do have to count it, but the things that you can control directly, that's something to be very proud of. It's been a long time since we've been that close. If you want to go through, special revenue funds are lines 11 through 29. Those are all the other funds. And you can see road and bridge maintenance. It looks like a $1.1 million deficit Criminal court's gonna be another $480,000 projected deficit. All the other funds though, with the exception of Creel Fire and Johnson Bayou Fire, we are projecting that, they have a surplus. And, I'm sorry, the Cameron E911 fund. So that's really good. We have a 80% overall budget, surplus. So, you're really happy, Mr. Darrell. Now, that's the good news.
You get it at 90%, not 80.
Okay, I will try.
Close.
Their garbage is, okay.
Parish-wide garbage,
Yeah, parish-wide garbage.
Line 15.
2019, projected that, fund is 3.7 million. And then your projected fund balance is 4.1. Is that gonna be because of the fact that new revenue source be getting that?
no, that doesn't take into account the new revenue source. That new, you're talking about the settlement check? Because, the parish-wide garbage, they just do traditionally operate with a surplus. Now, that's why you've rolled back your Avalon tax levy and not the full amount, because to try to break even or get in that surplus, but it typically does operate at a surplus.
Okay.
So that is somewhere where you can look to roll back any taxes. That's a fund that we pick on. That one, health unit, courthouse and jail, those are the three funds we pick on. We have to roll back our millages.
It became harder to do that.
You did a real good job. Now I hear what Ingrid's got to say.
Before we get into budget requests, do y'all wanna look at anything else? I have a few to hit
do?
on. I do. I received 3.
She's the messenger.
What do you,
This ain't in the budget, what you get ready to. request.
Yes.
it's not on these papers?
No.
No, sir. What we're gonna-
She's got handed it.
This is where you say yes or
Did you
no.
already take that out of the budget just in case?
No. The first request is we are in desperate need of a Dodge Dually for the Fair Festival. We need to purchase one.
A
to pull the
what?
A Dodge Dually,
What is that?
a truck.
There's 3 of them over there.
It's a truck, sir.
It's a truck. We need a Dually
No.
Dodge. We're in desperate need.
And you got a good deal, Katie.
Need in which you.
We're gonna get a special deal.
So is that a no?
You got a Ford?
We do have a Ford one.
So,
Yeah, it'll hurt you, better be quiet over there. We're just in a budget hearing. What department?
Which department is laughing the loudest?
Who's laughing?
And I told them if the glasses get thrown at me, I am not gonna be
you got
happy.
like 15 vehicles, there's 2 of them in that department?
What department?
I think they take turns driving vehicles.
Who's that, Lee?
I ain't saying that.
You don't know that.
Okay.
Okay.
In all seriousness though,
You are serious?
no,
No, you're not serious.
no.
I think desperate need on it.
Y'all like the desperate
A little
need.
sarcasm in there,
You
just,
tried some what?
I'm trying to be a little
I've been hearing
sarcastic.
sarcasm all day long from the OEP director.
That's the same one.
He's rubbing off on us. Okay, so no, but, in all seriousness. we
Miss Cindy,
do have
don't bring
to-
none of that in. We just kind of have a little fun here, okay?
That's an icebreaker.
Please let me know when the real stuff.
The real things,
I wrote it down too, don't
the first request, was from the district attorney's office. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today. They do want to reclass one of their employees, but they're not here to discuss it, so they asked if we could just wait and discuss it at the November meeting. But I'll go ahead and send y'all the request, the email request, for you to start considering. So you have your questions, have time to get questions together before the next meeting. And we'd be happy to pull anything.
When do we do our reclassification? Now, huh?
The employee evaluation,
We'll be
Yes.
sending those evaluations out next week, and we should will ask for them before the next budget meeting.
Yes.
So we always did budget in October, or had budget?
The first draft, yeah.
No, sometimes I usually do it in August. This year, we tried to do something a little different, not have quite as many budget meetings. We looked at what other entities do, like Calcasieu Parish, and they don't have near as many budget meetings. They do a lot of the department meetings together. That way, the jury only has to hear the budget and consider it twice, and then they vote on it the third time. So we're a little bit later than normal.
But from that standpoint, you would have already included the
Yes.
step increases
Yes.
in this 2000.
Everything that's in our policy and procedure manual of how things go with the budget is already in the first draft with the inflation numbers, the little 2% inflation when it's needed. And I incorporate the actual cost of all of the insurances that we have paid to date. We still haven't received our breakdown for our auto insurance, so that's still projected. I'm hoping by the November meeting, we get that from Tammy with Louisiana companies, and then you'll have all those actual costs in there. Those are the only ones that really
I know the
fluctuate
total cost, we just haven't been broken down by.
by department. So, but everything else is in there, property insurance, flood, workers' comp, professional liability, everything that we've paid and built out is all already incorporated in the budget and projected for next year.
And the steps,
Yes,
everything's in the budget.
everything.
So,
No, honestly, the only thing probably missing would be any reclassification request, which we know we have one.
We have one. They can't be here today. And then we have an equipment purchase request from yours truly.
okay, go ahead.
Um,
Dr. Lewis?
Road and Bridge, well, our Public Works Department, that's kind of what we've been referring it to lately. She has a request to purchase some equipment through the Road and Bridge Department and the Garbage Department. Miss Emily, and she's here to answer questions.
You heard the budget?
Yes, sir, garbage has plenty of money. I need 134 from garbage. All jokes aside, I need to replace the culvert cleaner, and Mr. Falk had asked a couple meetings ago about possibly getting a quote for the excavator, which is the 50-foot long stick. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just, the way you look, and he's looking, so I want to make sure we're on the same page, so,
Let's stop there.
Okay.
I asked Miss Emily to check on Carl's machine. Carl's, machine is, how?
it's like 13, get ready to be back, I think, 13 years.
13 or 14 years old. It's a 50-foot long stick holder jury had bought 13 years ago. The thing is, on that piece of equipment, at the time, it cost us about $140,000 to purchase that piece of equipment. And right now, the machine is in fair shape. It's gonna need new tracks, a new track job and everything. But my thought was, and I'd asked Ms. Emily, to go and just price a new one. And why we still have resale value left on that old machine, instead of running it until it's worth nothing, let's go ahead and try, maybe if we got the money to swap that machine out with a brand new one and then recoup some of our money, by selling the old machine.
Okay, the excavator is just a rough estimate because we'd have to, go out for bid. So we're looking at like 170 for the excavator.
170?
Yes, sir. So we're looking at, yeah,
You serious? 50-foot stick, 170?
that's the cheapest. That is the cheapest. The next one is 184.
We
paid a hundred.
150,
It was
150,000.
We paid that with some grant money, we bought that with grant money.
Something, yes, sir.
The whole jury, we did have to do repairs quite.
I got 3 quotes. The cheapest was 170, 184, and 214. But this is only quotes because we got to bid everything, bid it
The
out.
fact of the matter is, we bought this machine for $140,000 13 years ago. She can get.
I'm listening to the numbers.
She can get a new one right now for $170,000.
American made,
Yes. Well, we're gonna have to go out on bid, so we're not sure, you know what I'm saying? And you can always reject it if it's not
How much is your
Or-
guarantees worth now?
No one would give it, set it in stone, they were saying they think about 25,000. At wind would be more.
How much that cover?
We hit, the cover cleaner, for a diesel, and it don't necessarily have to be that, it was just we went with that one because it's a higher amount, it's like 55,000. 55.
That was my whole thinking was, instead
So
of
let's go, no,
letting
that's a no-brainer. I didn't realize it was 13 years old
We
already.
cut out the Dodge truck and get that.
The Dodge is cheaper.
We're making.
Yeah, but they can't clean the ditch.
We can pull it to the ditch. Say,
On both of these, neither one of them are broke down, so we're gonna actually be able to bring in some money. The problem I'm having with the culvert cleaners, we need to replace the pump. They gave me the quote of 10 to 15,000. They would not give me nothing better than that. And the problem is as old as it is, it's older, not the year on this one, but we bought it way before Rita.
Y'all done repaired it so many times, I don't think Fred Kelly pump can fix no more than what can be fixed.
No, the last
It's a junk.
time we had to go get it, they just kept looking at it and wouldn't even touch it. So we're looking at 225 for road and bridge, and then garbage is 134.
So much you need total?
360.
Yeah, around 360.
Then you gonna sell it, or you gonna sell the long stick?
Yes, the long stick
Where's it going?
culvert cleaner, I'm gonna have a backhoe to sell. Actually, over there right now, we have two 10-foot bush hogs that were replaced last year, that's going. So we do have some good stuff going to the sale that'll bring in some money to put towards
Towards this,
this. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
then they're gonna
She
sell the
has
long
it.
stick, so.
How much of it's gonna come out, Carl?
134. The long stick
And the other
and
part of it
the
is,
cover cleaner has to come out of road and bridge.
and the other part of it is?
Oh, I'm sorry, an air curtain burner for Sweet Lake. We are having to renew our permits for the air curtain burner. They had never been renewed. We're about to get slapped on the hand from DEQ. If they, for 10 months, they've been working, trying to figure out if they're gonna give me my permit or not. If they come, they have to check it to see if it starts and all this. It's obsolete, and you can't even buy parts for it. So we're praying that next year's budget will get here, and I can get one ordered and have one in place for when they finally do show up. But the permits were done in, I think, 1999, and no one had ever renewed them. So, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna sell the long stick, you're gonna sell the cover cleaner, you're not buying a truck,
Gonna sell the backhoe.
We'll have a backhoe to sell, we've got a lawnmower to sell.
so you'll probably get 80,000 for all that, and that'll go against your, what you're gonna get.
Yes, sir.
And that, we still have a good budget.
Yes, sir.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Don't act, by the way,
I think I'm doing good. I've been doing this for 3 years in September, and this is the first time I'm at this table for
you
budget.
did good, Em. Yeah.
But my stuff's
Now-
getting old now.
Now, surprise us all and come back and say, yeah, guys, I got $100,000 for all that junk.
Hey,
No.
I might, you never know. But my backhoe I'm replacing is 17 years old.
I
It's,
understand.
it's on his last leg.
Is that all?
I'm running now. Thank you.
You winning.
Thank you.
Anything else, Katie?
Yes, so that wraps up the purchase request. There's just one thing I want to talk to you guys about. Talking about our phase 3. So I ran some numbers, and at some of these conferences I've been talking to some people, and all around the state of Louisiana, the entities actually pay someone to do their payroll for them. The department, they charge sometimes, some charge a 5% admin fee of total expenditures. Some people charge 10%. I kind of just sat down and ran a few numbers, and it's not a decision that like I said, has to be made today if y'all don't want to pursue it. It's just kind of a little fact-finding mission that I wanted to make you guys aware of. So we run payroll for every water district, every rec district, every gravity drainage district in the parish. We also do work orders for all these entities. Sometimes, if it's to purchase a culvert, to install a culvert, we do the requisition, we pay the bill, and then we bill them later for the actual supplies, but we've never really looked at what it's costing our department to do all this for them, and as an admin fee. The envelopes, and please don't laugh at me because I know this is just cents, but it's just to kind of give you an idea of how much things cost. Envelopes are 60 cents apiece. The checks that we pay every time we run a check, those are 18 cents apiece. So, every time we do this for an entity, pay a bill or do their payroll, the general fund is paying for that, for everyone. If we were to, say, charge a 3% admin fee at the end of the year and bill the entity for paying all their insurance bills that we break down, we send the check, doing all their payroll, their retirement, their health insurance, their property insurance, every time we do work orders for them. I ran 2017, was $2.2 million is what we did on behalf of all these entities. If we were to run that and buy a 3% admin fee and charge at the end of the year, the general fund could get $68,000 based off of 3%. If it was 5%, that's $113,000 that the general funds essentially could be collecting to provide these services to all these entities.
It costs $2 million.
We ran $2.2 million worth of expenditures on behalf of all these entities.
Oh,
Payroll
okay.
and other.
Payroll,
and
yeah.
other
Okay.
But y'all wanted the payroll.
I thought y'all spent $2.1 million on checks and.
We didn't want it, we've had it forever.
The water, like the water board, one. They were paying their own bills, and then now the bill comes from y'all once a month.
No, we've always done that payroll.
Payroll.
Yeah.
Are we required?
We're not required to do this. It's more beneficial for everyone, to be honest, because those entities would have to hire an accountant or
They
pay a
would hire an
CPA to
That's
do,
what I'm saying.
they would have to hire staff.
Some of the entities actually taking care of their own bills, such as the ambulance districts and the different ones.
Ambulance
Are we required
does,
by the
yes.
statutes to take care of some?
No,
of these?
it just helps them, it helps our insurance costs, because we own a group policy, and,
Okay.
administrative costs. No, what she's talking about is just allocating, distributing a percentage of that to offset the cost that we've been doing this for 40 years. I mean, we're just talking about, okay, here, we have the staff in place,
I know
everybody.
what she's asking, I'm asking, one, are we required to do it?
Yeah.
And if we are, then they need to pay their percentage of it, what she's saying.
Everyone else does it.
Is there other options?
I mean, they could, if they don't want to pay the fee, or, I mean, if, that's of course if y'all decide to charge a fee. If they don't want to pay the fee, then they have to hire a CPA firm or hire a full-time accountant to do their payroll for them.
And that would be a lot more.
It'd be a headache for them and more expensive for them.
And then you start questioning, processing their retirements, their insurance, would they be part of our insurance?
Right,
That
there.
you only get that own group health insurance, and that, the larger your group, the better off you are.
Okay.
So they're benefiting from it.
So are we staffed adequately to do what we're?
We're already doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done it for years. We've just never really considered what is it actually costing the general fund to do this. And I can tell you right now, it cost us in envelopes alone $1,500 a year to do 200 people's payroll. Just the envelope, not counting the check and the time spent producing the check.
Couldn't we phase in something?
We could do.
1%?
No, go ahead.
And next year would be
This kind of conversation, that we're considering, kind of runs into the work order side too, that Emma and I has been kind of talking about and trying to figure out if it's something that the community would support and the jurors would support. How much does it cost us to do a work order when the library asks, and this isn't just for all the entities, this is the library, we do all their payroll for them. They have a fund. The courthouse and jail, allocating all the costs, admin fees across all the funds. By 3%, 5%, 1%, whatever you guys think is fair. But when you start looking at the work orders, every time Miss Emily has to dispatch someone to go cut the grass at the library, say, we're paying the road bridge is paying the fuel. They're using their lawnmower. They're using their employee. Would she need that many employees if she didn't spend so many times dispatching the people on work orders? We don't know. But I do know that we've always paid for fuel for every work order we've ever done. We've never charged an entity that. Every time we go do anything for them. So we've kind of talked about it. I talked about it with my gravity drainage board. What did they think was fair? Where's the line where they are still saving money, but they feel that they're not, robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. So they felt that, if you're charging for the big long stick that they charge, we used to charge $210 a day when they used it. When we looked at the FEMA rates and broke that down, what FEMA says is actually fair, ends up kind of coming out to a 10-hour day of $500. So if we were to charge $500 a day for them to use that long stick to go do drainage work for Gravity Drainage 8, they're still getting a benefit. They're not paying as much as what it would cost to hire a private contractor. But it's not costing the road and bridge department all the fuel and everything as it has been. So that's one of the things we kind of looked at. How do we close the gaps? How do we get road and bridge to break even? That's one of the ways.
Yeah, that goes back to what you said earlier, trying to bridge those.
It's still doing what you're doing there, it's still gonna be cheaper than any entity go out and hire somebody, hire landscaping and hire all that, hire the carpenters, hire this, hire that. It's still cheaper to do it this way.
And in preparation for, we can go to those boards and tell them, look, here's what we're thinking about, just to let them, instead of just, prepare them.
How would we come up with the billing? How would they be charged? Would they be charged on services provided, or would it be charged a fee based on their revenue?
Well, most of the entities that I spoke with, they do a set percentage fee based off of total expenditures. That's what most of them. Now, some of them, they pay a third party to go through, like an actuary, and sit down and devise what the fair amount is. I don't think we need to go that far. It would end up costing us money to get someone to figure out how to allocate it. But if it's something that you would like for us to speak with the entities about, if you want to take it home, consider it, talk to some of your constituents about it, some of your boards, see if that would be something they would be willing to support to help out the jury. It's not about trying to make the police jury get a big surplus. It's just about helping us break even, especially if we're the ones paying for most of the hard costs and they're reaping the benefits. And if they're not supportive of it, then we don't have to do that. If y'all aren't supportive of it, it's just something that we've kind of been trying to research to figure out how do we close these budget gaps without.
Nobody's having to spend more money for the same service they get for free. If it makes sense, we need to do it. Yeah, if it makes sense, we need to do it.
I agree.
But it's gonna help y'all when the situations come up and you need to help that district, whether it's matching for a grant. You're gonna be approached soon to match a district with a drainage issue. It's gonna help you do those things.
Could you go out and talk to everyone and tell them if we
Yes.
decide to do this, that's what we're gonna do?
We already are planning on scheduling meetings the next 2 months. After we hired the new payroll accountant, and Mr. Gregg, who's about to retire, we decided we're gonna go meet with all these entities anyways, help them develop their own personnel policy for each entity, write their job descriptions. It's a good time for us to develop each manual for each entity. That would help the new payroll accountant learn it and process it and also document it at the same time, something that these entities don't have, they're just using ours. So that would be the perfect opportunity to discuss it with them, see if it's something they find fair. If you want us to discuss it with them on your behalf, if it's something y'all want to move forward with, that would be the time we would tell them, look, starting January 1 or June 1st, whatever day you choose, this is what we're going to charge. It gives you time to, if you don't want to pay us to do it, it gives you time to hire someone to do it yourself.
Okay, but now, they're gonna have to remember, kind of like Darryl said about the insurance, would they break away from the group insurance, or, that's something they need to know, we need to find out.
Where's that generator help?
That just kicked off. But, that's something they need to find out maybe,
Yes.
because that's a big deal about the insurance, if they're not covered under the umbrella policy of the group insurance we are now, their insurance is skyrocketing.
Right, well, just hiring a CPA alone to process your payroll, that's gonna be expensive.
That would make up their mind right there, most probably.
Last name's sweet, huh?
Now,
I guess that was my cue.
we all under one policy right now. Manual, you can have 35 policies.
Each entity would have their own, policy, but we're gonna develop it for them. It's something that we really need. We've developed all of our other policies. It was the last item that we were told that we needed to develop and have in place. If we're gonna do their payroll, then we're gonna sit down with the board and let the board develop the policy. Now, a lot of it's gonna be very similar to ours. There's just gonna be maybe 2 or 3 sections that might be different. But a lot of these boards have new people. They don't even know why they're employees, what their employees' work hours are, why they're that, when they're eligible for overtime, when they're not eligible for overtime. It's just a good time for us to all sit down and have an open discussion of, this is what your employees are actually working right now. Is that the intention? When do you want them to get paid overtime for a call out? Do you want them to always get overtime if they get called out on Sunday? Every entity's different. Some are yes, some say no, some don't even know. So it's something we need to do as an accounting department. It's something that we were always gonna do, and we're doing it right now, and we hope to have it ready by December.
So would have to be, you'd have to put under your budget administrative cost.
Yes,
If you didn't have any, you'd have some now,
yes.
and you'd tell us how much.
It'd be an indirect admin cost is what they would probably, most of the time, that's what the line item is. Indirect admin cost, it's usually, it caps out at 10%. If we set it at 5, 3, 1%, if we want to phase it in, they would budget that, and it would be easy for them to figure out whatever their total expenditures were.
You get $30,000 a year, you ain't got much.
Oh, I know, that's what I said, I know it's pennies considering $11 million budget that we have, but when we started cutting down on all the costs, it all materializes somewhere in our budget, and, I mean, if it's something that you find silly and you don't want us to do, then we won't pursue it.
Those policy, adoption of those policies and procedures and all of that, that's really important.
We're definitely doing that.
That protects the parish
Mhm.
and the employee.
Well, we've had a few
Because somebody gets
instances.
hurt, you don't have policies developed for that.
Well, there'll be policies that are parish-wide regardless, you know,
Right.
but each district has different, as she said, different hours.
They can
That way a new person can come in, but you're seeing somebody that's been here 30 years that might know it, just, is it, now a new person they can go to a procedure for Waterworks District 1, 2, that drainage board, and not have any questions.
And we have it for all of our other, I mean, if I said I needed to check Mr. Lee, you could go sit at my desk with my policy manual, and it would tell you step by step how to do it, Jack. You would be able to do it. That's what we want for payroll.
All water boards on one policy, all 5 boards
Now,
on
it's not
another
gonna be
policy.
our
It's gonna
policy.
be different.
Everyone's gonna be
We have to-
different
They're all
to
different, because they have
theirs.
different hours
Yeah,
and
they get
different
Well,
standby
we know
pays.
it's over 29 hours, everybody knows that.
Well, I thought if it was an employee on the police jury, you go by their phone.
Well, we're
Go back.
finding a little different.
That's what I thought.
But they all have different operation hours, different, but there's some things that are the same. Overtime, you work over 40 hours, you get overtime, time and a half, comp time policies. Workers' comp
Right.
issues, grievance issues, those are all the same. What she's talking about is every waterworks, every other district, they have small
Some get paid for
procedures.
standby on call, some don't.
Yeah.
But there's always,
Some, I mean,
That's good
everyone's,
if you're gonna go meet with them.
we're gonna do that for them.
Get
We're
that
gonna,
done, is good. That's-
and they need it. It's just something that we've been needing to do, and it's a perfect opportunity for us to do it, and that's something we're gonna do for them. So that is something we're gonna be working on. So people in the community are talking about us meeting with them. That's what we're doing with them, is helping them develop all of their payroll policies.
Hey, one last question.
Yes, sir.
The numbers and figures that you gave, are you confident on those would cover your expenses, at least? Or is
Yes.
that just a stab at what it might be?
No, I just used, it's just a stat. 5% is what majority of the other entities that I talked to do. I did 3% because I felt that maybe 5% might be too much, so I ran the numbers for 3% as well. Some, like I said, do anywhere between 10 and 20%. I didn't think y'all would support going that far, so. We can run the numbers more and get more hard costs if it's something you wanna see. I just didn't wanna invest too much time in this if it's not something you were gonna wanna support the idea of, so.
And I
You
was
just
gonna
guys
add
tell
that.
me.
I wouldn't want you to say 3% and then come back later and say, we need more because doing a whole lot more. But if we would want five, let's shoot for five, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Good.
Okay. I don't know, is that something we have to vote on or anything?
No, I would just,
Just something we meet with them and tell them that's what we're gonna start doing effective January 1, a clear fiscal year.
oh, I would, I mean, I would suggest, once you get,
It's
once
in
you
the
get
budget.
it,
You
to have
get
a
a
policy,
budgetary item.
that would be something you would vote on at some point.
Not right now.
Not right now, I would think she needs
This
to
is just
develop
a round table
this, she's
discussion.
just bringing it up to y'all, that's something to pursue, once you talk to the districts and y'all
Get
all
everything set up,
agree.
then come back.
Then come back and let's have a
figure
policy
vote on it.
and approve it and vote on it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you would present that to us as an amendment to present policy, and we would vote, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not right now, we'll just keep moving.
If you want me to keep moving forward with it, we can.
Yes,
Okay.
that's all you have to do.
I
Okay,
think that's a good
And
idea.
then when you've got it set to the schedule, you present it, and it's gonna go to a vote meeting, and we'll vote on it when we're done.
all right. Well, that's really all I had for you guys. I know I said I'd keep it brief, but it wasn't really brief. I'm sorry.
That's good.
Good discussion, very good discussion.
Anything else? Anybody got anything else? Daryl?
No, I'm just, Ron is.
The next meeting's November.
He's wondering why she's taking so long.
Because he's up here, so we kind I know at least 4 people texted him separately and said the meeting only lasts 26 minutes because he wasn't
What are you
here.
doing, young lady?
I'm making him nervous,
That's
so.
it. Meeting adjourned.